Detroit Lions versus Minnesota Vikings. Now, obviously, Galladay goes down with the hip. That's a big concern. But I think both teams are going to be able to score here. Let me hit you with fantasy stuff here. So Matt Stafford I have as startable, but more for super flex and daily fantasy. You could probably do better elsewhere in your fantasy football lineup this week. I like Swift more than I like Adrian Peterson or Kerryon Johnson or anybody like that. Kerryon Johnson gets a touchdown last weekend, by the way. What happens? David, give me your thoughts on this when we switch it over to you. But with Kenny Galladay out, I mean, who's the guy? I think it would be Marvin Jones, although he had 2 touchdowns. It looks great, but he only had 3 receptions. So it's like where the target's going. T.J. Hawkinson, I think, is probably the biggest beneficiary in terms of targets with Galladay out. I like him with Stafford. They're pretty good together. Minnesota, on the other hand, Cousins, if you're looking for desperation plays, I mean, maybe you could scoop him off of waivers and play him against the Denver defense. Dalvin Cook is a definite start every week he's in there. Hopefully he can finish a game, but what a game he had last week. I think this game is the game where Justin Jefferson kind of goes nuts and Adam Thielen is okay. You get one or the other. I think they had the same amount of targets and receptions, not world-beating numbers, but with Dalvin Cook dominating Green Bay, they didn't really need those guys. But I think this week they will be utilized a little bit more, so I think both are starts, and I stay away from tight ends. Take it away, David.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled about Justin Jefferson this week just because it kind of, you mentioned it's going to be one or the other with him or Thielen. It's such a low-octane passing offense, and that's why I feel a little bit vindicated for after T. Higgins and Justin Jefferson both went off, I was opting for T. Higgins because you have a low-octane passing offense versus an offense that's leading the league in passing attempts. Right. So this is something to keep in mind, guys, especially early in the season. The guy has a breakout game that's a 40-burger. Another guy's also having a breakout game and looking just as good, but it's not quite as high as the ceiling. Look at the volume because Justin Jefferson was not set up in a place to continue dropping 40 burgers or being a consistent fantasy option despite his talent. Yeah. He's not in a good position. And he's a great talent. Even long-term, he's just not in a good position right now, especially compared to T. Higgins. But the Lions, it's a great position for Dalvin Cook. Talk about last week against the Packers. Yeah. Number one fantasy matchup for running backs as they leaped Carolina in part due to that performance. Guess who's number 2, sandwich in between the Packers and the Panthers?
Detroit Lions.
Detroit Lions, my friend. So they succeeded with Dalvin Cook. That's the team they want to be in Minnesota, is a team that leans on the run, basically shortens the game, takes pressure off the defense, and doesn't ask Kirk Cousins to do a whole lot. So I think that's going to be the game plan again for this week. Maybe even Alexander Mattison gets a little bit more involvement because they don't want to overload Dalvin Cook. So if you're in a pinch and you need a guy like Mattison, I don't think he's got a terrible chance to end up in the end zone this week.
Yeah, I will say back to Jefferson and Thielen, even though they didn't get crazy amount of targets because, like you said, I mean, they just didn't have to throw the ball, and that's the way Minnesota wants to play. You're right about that. I was enthused that at least they had similar share in the passing game. To start the season when Minnesota's really humming, Thielen would get like 11 targets and Jefferson got like 3 or 4. Now it's seeming like they're about equal, which is good. So when they pass, they do look for both of them, which is nice. Let me hit you with the line here. We got Detroit, according to Bovada, +4 versus Minnesota.
You got to be crazy to bet on this type of game. Like these are 2 unpredictable division opponents. Like I don't want nothing to do with this. So give me the coin flip. Give me the old coin flip.
The coin flip, all right.
Actually, give me the points. Give me the points.
Yeah.
Whichever team's getting the points.
Detroit's getting the points, and that's why I took Detroit as well. But Minnesota, I mean, I thought they would have a better record at this point of the season, but I did think that Minnesota was going to be a team that would improve in the back half of the season because they had a lot of moving parts in this defense. So Minnesota could be a spoiler. They could be a team that routinely covers towards the end of the season. Last year, Miami did that. People wrote off Miami after a bad start. Miami was covering all the time. Tennessee, after they made the switch to Tannehill, was covering all the time. The Raiders were covering all the time. Minnesota could be that kind of team this year, along with, by the way, the Houston Texans, who we'll talk about in just a bit. So there you go. Actually, that's a perfect segue. It just worked out this way, David. Next game on the